Hey friends, Todd Chipman here, Dean of Graduate Studies, Associate Professor of Biblical Studies at Midwestern Baptist Theological Seminary. I'm here with my friend, Professor Dr. John Meade, and he is a professor of Old Testament here, and we're thinking about the Septuagint today. So let's talk about the Septuagint. This is a big word, sounds academic. How do you describe the Septuagint to a person at church, just in a Sunday school class you're attending? How do you describe it?
Yeah, so the word Septuagint is from a Latin word, Septuaginta, meaning 70, because that term comes from a legend about the translation of the Old Testament, the Hebrew Old Testament, into Greek, okay? So the Latin term is Septuaginta, but popularly we now call this the Septuagint. So the way I would explain this to a church member is simply there's a need for translation. The language of Hebrew was becoming more and more difficult to understand for a Jewish community down in Alexandria, Egypt. And at a certain time, probably around 280, 250 BC, so before the birth of Jesus, that community decided to translate the Hebrew Bible into Greek. And they started with the first 5 books, Moses' books, Genesis through Deuteronomy, and then over a couple of centuries probably, they added all of the rest of the books. So that's how I would answer that question.
Yeah, so they're understanding this in a practical way. This is a translation of the Hebrew scriptures.
That's right.
Common language. So thinking about this for churches, let's think about it for seminary students. Why should seminary students study the Septuagint?
Oh, many reasons. Yes. Oh, yes. Well, I think, first of all, it's a Greek text. And so we learn a lot about the Greek language just by studying the Septuagint. Another reason I give is oftentimes, even reading your English Bible, you will come across footnotes in your English Bible, always referring to this LXX, or sometimes they'll spell out the word Septuagint. And those footnotes will oftentimes give a different reading than what's up in the text of your Bible. And I think seminary students really should know what is underneath, what's behind those footnotes, and are they relevant to the history of the Bible?
As a professor of New Testament, I encourage students to know both Greek and Hebrew, because if we're going to understand the New Testament well, we have to understand both those traditions to understand the New Testament. And the Septuagint, with the same language as the New Testament, so many parallels, so many windows open, and we want you to study with us. Go to mbts.edu and keep your eyes out for how you can study biblical languages here at MBTS. See you next time.